In the previous video, we mentioned how vaccines work, but we only mentioned one type of vaccine. In this video, we'll be discussing the different types of vaccines and evaluating the advantages and disadvantages of each type. There are 5 main types of vaccines we'll talk about: inactivated vaccines, live attenuated vaccines, mRNA vaccines, subunit vaccines, and toxoid vaccines. Inactivated vaccines contain the dead pathogen, so it causes no harm to the body and is incapable of reproducing. This still stimulates the same immune response as a live pathogen in a vaccine, as it still contains the antigen. An inactivated vaccine will go through the same process where a cell will present the antigen on its surface and activate a helper T cell. An advantage of the inactivated vaccine would be that it's easy for storage and shipping, since the pathogen is already dead and there are no sophisticated storage environments that are needed. However, a disadvantage is that when compared to other forms of vaccines, immunity lasts for shorter periods of time, thus is often required to take multiple shots and/or a booster. The next type of vaccine is the live attenuated vaccine. These vaccines contain the weakened version of the pathogen, and this allows the body to defeat it easily. This vaccine also stimulates the same immune response where a cell presents an antigen on its surface to activate a helper T cell. The advantages of a live attenuated vaccine includes how it imitates the natural infection of the body to provide long-lasting immunity, as well as the process of giving quick immunity in general. However, a disadvantage would be that it is not recommended to certain patients who have a severely compromised immune system that is incapable of fighting against even a weakened pathogen. The mRNA vaccine is another one that has been significantly useful during the COVID-19 pandemic. These vaccines contain mRNA, or messenger ribonucleic acid, which is a type of genetic material that our body is able to read during a biological process called translation. From reading a specific mRNA, the cell is sort of given instructions to do or synthesize something. For a vaccine, mRNA is made in a lab. This mRNA instructs the cell to make a certain protein or even a part of a protein which can trigger an immune response like the other vaccines. An advantage of the mRNA vaccine would be that it contains no pathogen at all, meaning that it is not infectious and completely safe for the user. It also allows for reduced production time of the vaccine. However, a disadvantage would be that for most of the mRNA vaccines, storage conditions like really low temperatures are required because of the fragility of mRNA. Subunit vaccines are quite similar to live attenuated vaccines, but rather than the pathogen being weakened, a certain piece or unit of the pathogen is used. Key parts of the pathogen can be picked out and only the required ones will be used. Subunit vaccines also stimulate the same immune response where a cell represents an antigen on its surface to activate a helper T cell. An advantage of this vaccine type would be that as only certain parts of the vaccine is used, it almost eliminates the risk to damage of the user. Thus why it is also compatible with people with weakened immune systems. However, a disadvantage would be that it requires a booster shot most of the time, as once again, immunity doesn't last very long. Another type of vaccine, and the last vaccine we'll be talking about, are toxoid vaccines. It is quite different from the rest, as it doesn't use the pathogen itself, but rather a toxin or a harmful substance that the pathogen creates. Toxoid vaccines also stimulate the immune response where a cell represents an antigen on its surface to activate a helper T cell. An advantage of the toxoid vaccine would be that it also eliminates the risk of the user getting the disease that it is preventing, and it also cannot revert to virulence. However, a disadvantage would be that it also requires regular boosters to acquire ongoing immunity.